Hi everybody, I am making my first attempt at doing a vlog. It's like a video blog. I'm gonna sit up higher because I think it just makes more sense, makes me look taller. Maybe not. I want to do a series of video blogs this week where I'm gonna do one a day, telling you about a former student of mine. Now before we get started, I want you to know that I teach English as a second language, and I've been doing that for 20 years. Now, I don't know what is weirder about the fact that I've been doing that 20 years and people are like astounded at that, because there's usually a lot of burnout among ESL teachers. I don't know if I'm more astounded by that or I'm more astounded by the fact that after 20 years of teaching ESL or ENL, English as a New Language, people, when I tell them I teach ESL, their first, I would say like more than 50% of the time people think I'm saying ASL, American Sign Language, which I wish I knew, but I don't. However, I do know Spanish, and what I think is interesting about the fact that people don't know what ESL is that we have so many students in our country right now who are dual language learners or even triple language learners, tri-language learners, whatever the proper term is, I'm not sure. But we don't know that. And so that's, to me, kind of a problem, that this is a significant part of our population that we don't know their stories. Or people don't know their stories, I should say. A lot of people don't know their stories. So I want people to know that about some stories of my students so that they can hear what it's like to be an immigrant. Many of us will never know that. And I think that the closer we get to each other, the harder it is to hate each other and dehumanize each other. And oftentimes, as many of you know, immigrants are dehumanized in our culture, in our world, and in our communities. And that makes me sick to my stomach, because immigrants are some of the bravest people I have ever met in my entire life. And I want to tell you about some of them. So the first person I want to tell you about tonight is a student of mine named Renato. Renato was my student my very first year of teaching. I was teaching in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Do not ask me why I was there. That's a whole other story, but I was there. And I was teaching, and I was overwhelmed. And my first day of class, or first week of class, I'm teaching these wonderful, amazing kiddos, and I had a colleague come into my room. She was a migrant teacher. She was paid paraprofessional pay, so she was not paid teacher pay. And she worked with students who were classified as migrants because their parents were in a certain kind of agricultural work, I believe. So she came to me and she said, Miss Polanco, I want to talk to you about one of your students named Renato. And I'm like, who? I've got like 25,000 students. Who are you talking about? And so she shows me this picture to remind me. And I'm like, oh, Renato, yes, 4th grade Renato, I love him. He's so sweet. He just doesn't talk very much, you know. And she said, yeah, let me tell you about Renato. And she gave me a stack of his writing, this thick. He had come in as a 3rd grader and loved to write, and he was writing in Spanish every day, all the time. And so she gave me a stack of his writing, and I read it, and I was blown away. He wrote a lot about El Salvador in his writing and how much he missed El Salvador. And the last paragraph that I read in his writing is one I will never forget, because it gave me great insight into my students. And I think so many times as Americans we think, oh, these kids must think that they are just in heaven with like all this stuff that we have here. The paragraph he wrote said, in El Salvador, I had no windows in my home. I could not see the sunshine. In my school, I had no paper and no pencils. Here in America, I have paper and I have pencils. I have windows. I have sunlight that I can see. But I would rather have less. And when I read that, I was blown away. Will never forget it. I would rather have less. I would rather have no windows. I would rather have no paper, no pencils. I would rather have less because I miss my people. And so what I want you to know is no matter what your feelings are about immigrants or people who come to our country, they are humans. They are people who are here for a reason. And some of them don't see beauty in stuff. They see beauty in love and in truth. And so the next thing I did when I got that letter, or that piece of paper, not a letter, but a piece of paper from Renato, was I sat him down the next day, and my 22-year-old self at least had the sense to say this. I said, Renato, I see you. I saw what you wrote, and you are a writer, and I want you to keep writing. And second thing is that you are, I get you. You would rather have less. And oh my gosh, there's like creepy people walking in my neighborhood right now. People, you know what? This is a lesson perhaps. In proximity, I need to treat people as if I see them in a good way. We have homeless people that walk through our neighborhood sometimes and go through the trash. And sometimes you just have to smile and let people know that you see them and that they're human beings. That's all. Not that I'm an expert at it, but I'm trying to be better at it. So I just want you to know that, yes, people are in this country because for very good reasons. And you won't know unless you actually ask them or have the courage to find out. But these kids that I teach, what I can tell you this is that they are the most courageous people I've ever met in my life. They come into my school. Every year I have students that come in not knowing a word of the language, with their wide eyes and an open heart, and they are trusting us. And that to me is just beautiful and courageous. And I like to take them and I like to say, look, I know you must be terrified right now, because a lot of them cry, but I want you to know that I think you are so brave, and I believe in you, and you can do this. And every year they blow me away. They're so brave. And so when I go into a situation, I think about them, about having grace. And it's okay to cry sometimes. It's okay to be really afraid, but you do it anyways, and you do it gracefully, and you make mistakes and you keep going. And that's what my kiddos do year after year. And so that's about Renato today. Tomorrow I may have another story for you.